Good morning, everyone. May I request everyone to please settle down? Day 0 is just about to begin. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, Log9ers. That's the sound that's going to change this country. It's the 25-year-old who's not afraid of failing. It's that engineer who toiled hard in his college to understand fundamental science. It's that software engineer who's here, who's writing the code that's going to drive the controls on electric vehicle. It's that team that's going to bring the day zero to this country. I know all of us are thinking what this day zero is all about, but they say, nobody introduced me, so I'll introduce myself first. I am Pankaj, one of the co-founders. I have the pleasure and honor of building a company with Akshay and Karthik. Stellar guys. It was 3 people, we are now 400. I see 400 co-founders in this company. I think that strength of those unique people coming together to bring this country to the point where it always wanted to. I have Dr. Sivan among us. I've seen him, the rocket man, being inspired. And it kind of gives us a sense that our moment has arrived. It's very clear. I'm pretty sure India's moment has arrived. It is what you and I will do in the next 5 years that will drive this country for the next 50 years. So as we live with that sense of responsibility, as we bring this day zero to an unblinding stage, may I welcome my friend, my brother from another mother, Akshay Singhal, who's an inspiration, a great entrepreneur, but a leader for all of us.
Thank you, Pankaj. Namaskar, India. Welcome to Log9 Day Zero. It is a day that we complete 7 years of our existence at Log9. This journey started in 2015 out of IIT Roorkee. We started this company as a material science nanotechnology company. The idea was to build these technologies ground up, locally, in India, for India. 5 years ago, in 2017, we took the leap of faith and moved to Bangalore. And as we moved to Bangalore, we grew more and more climate conscious. And as we dig deeper, we realized that 2/3 of all the emissions that we have, or carbon emissions as we call them, are due to either energy generation, storage, or utilization. And hence, the call that we took, that if with the limited resources that we have, the limited arsenal that we have against climate change, we devote that to our energy requirements, we can create a huge impact. And in this duration, we have grown phenomenally. We have grown 40 times in our team size, from just 10 people back in 2017 to more than 400 people today. We have grown from a space of 2,000 square feet near ISC Bangalore, and now today to 200,000 square feet of facilities across Bangalore and the rest of the country. And also in this duration, we have constantly pioneered innovation in India, and that has led to more than 35 patents being filed by Log9. And this feat of ours didn't go unrecognized. We were recognized by Economic Times as the most innovative startup for 2021. Our climate-first approach and the drive to constantly pioneer reliable products for the customers has enabled us to get on a path which is making us the most trusted battery solution company in the country. And with this, there is no wonder that today we are able to work with 11 different OEMs across the vehicle platforms, from 2-wheelers, 3-wheelers, 4-wheelers to trucks and buses. And what we are able to offer them? We are able to offer them solutions which can enable them to charge electric vehicles 9 times faster within 15 minutes, which is actually faster than your mobile phone charging up. And at the same time, last for 9 times longer, more than a generation. And it doesn't stop there. Offer you a performance and reliability and peace of mind, which is 9 times higher as well. So with this kind of a background, with this kind of work that has happened over the last 7 years, today I stand in front of you to announce a gear shift in our trajectory, a path change in our growth journey. And today, we all of us Log9ers, take this responsibility to pioneer India's self-reliance into energy storage by building technologies which are built keeping the Indian requirements, Indian conditions in mind, and also being conscious of the material availabilities that we have in the country. On this note, I would like to invite my dear friend Hemant Charaya to tell us about the journey of building cell technologies ground up in India here at Log9.
Hi everyone, good morning to you all. I'm Hemant, I'm the Senior Vice President of Battery Cell Technology here at Log9. So, as Akshay said, today marks the 7 years of completion for Log9 materials, and I've been one of the few fortunate people who have been able to see the journey from the day of its inception. Back in the day when Akshay founded the company, we were studying at IIT Roorkee. So in those dorms of the college, when the company was started, I saw the journey of Log9. And at that time, we took different paths. I moved to Canada to pursue my master's from University of Alberta, while Akshay stayed here with his relentless dream of making a company that stands on the pillar of innovation. I had the opportunity to go to University of Toronto for my PhD, where I was supposed to be working with Daimler on aluminum-ion batteries. But the vision of making technology in India for India convinced me to come back, join Log9, and build energy storage solutions here. The journey so far, it's been 3.5 years. And the journey so far has been full of challenges. It has been exciting, but most importantly, it has been gratifying to do something meaningful to our fight against climate change. And we, as a responsible energy company, are focused on building technologies that are sustainable, that are reliable, and that are safe. We are aware that our ambition to have significant contribution to climate change doesn't stop at just building the technology. We have to make sure that this technology go to the masses, used by millions of people, and then only we can fulfill the dream that we have as a company. And that's why this occasion is very momentous, where we are unveiling the first commercial cell line in India, which will electrify our transportation, make our grids greener, and make this country self-reliable in energy storage and energy generation. I'm very excited for what's to come today, and hope you have a great time here on the unveiling of our first commercial line.
Can we please have the showcase video for the journey of making the first Indian-made commercially viable cells on the screen, please? Thank you.
Log9 is proud to present its state-of-the-art R&D cell line for battery production. The first of its kind in India, it is our first step towards creating sustainable energy in a truly indigenous way. Perfected not just at the R&D level, but also at the manufacturing level, it was set up in record time by a team of extraordinary engineers and scientists, involving local vendors in accordance with the principle of Atmanirbhar Bharat. And that has resulted in a battery assembly line that's completely versatile and adaptable to any chemistry or form factor. Log9 is the first battery manufacturer to focus on developing cells that are reliable even in extreme environmental conditions. Our batteries are completely safe even when operating at higher than normal temperatures and can be charged in a matter of minutes. It is truly a significant stepping stone in India's journey towards making the country an important hub in battery manufacturing. Log9, pioneering responsible energy.
So I think that's just a sneak peek of what's going to come. But a lot of people have asked us, where is this magic happening? Actually, it's happening right behind the screen. And I welcome all of you that as we conclude today's session, you can have a walk, check out how we're doing things. In this technology, process is the product, and how you make it is the most complex thing. Let's talk about what we have for today. How is it that what is it that's driving us forward? How is it that we're going to power up India? And there are 3 instances that has reminded us to where we have arrived at. When we started onto this journey, when we were thinking of building this cell line, we remember that moment when perhaps on the Dandi March, Gandhiji went and took a pinch of salt and broke it. How can just a small group of people can bring such a large change? I was very curious. Were there like 15,000 people walking behind Gandhiji that day? They were a handful. But what it needed was a leader and an opportunity and a self-belief of cracking something, and then arriving at your own strength and arriving at your own true power, that what is available is just a handful away. If only we can reach out to it. Innovation is something like that. All we have to do is put a hand into the innovation, turn the volume up, and the products can be created. Why is it that in India we haven't created the largest deep tech companies? Perhaps the only impetus that was missing was this courage and this zero barrier to failure and no success-based mindset that only creates that only I will succeed when I do something good. So with that mindset, we've kind of got onto that journey. I'm again reminded because I have Professor Sivan in this ISRO launching those rockets, again giving us the belief when we were just 20 people watching you guys launching those rockets. He says, how many people work at ISRO? Not many. But they are launching rockets, they're sending things to moon, to Mars. That self-belief, sir, has come through you, through the organizations that you have built. And it is within that sense that when we see the Prime Minister goes to a forum and says, we as a country are going to put 500 gigawatts of renewable energy. What it means is this country is now the leader of the conversation on innovation, climate, and sustainable energy. And how better and we want to power up India with that innovation. So we thought, how can we power up? How can we even think of inaugurating something that's very deep tech? And all we could think of is a very simple thing. Let my mind power this country. So we created India's first high power cells that we've created. They've been distributed. And what we're going to do is going to invite all of you to come over here one by one. We have an India map over here, and that India map has been hooked up to a contraption on which the first lithium-ion cells can be plugged in. And as you plug it into it, region by region, we're going to power this country up onto this map today. I will guarantee you, I will power this country with this technology in the coming future in the entire space. Karthik, can we have some of our members? So what we're going to do is we're requesting a group of 6 people to walk up to the stage. And Karthik has already seeded them with the cells. We've broken the India map into 5 zones. And for each zone, we have 6 cells that are going into it. And as the 6 cells come together, you get to the necessary energy to plug it into the map. Last one is going in.
With this, we bring a technology developed in India, made in India, lighting up India. And that's what the aim of Log9 and the vision of Log9 is.
Thanks, Karthik. Professor Sivan requires no introduction from me, but I'll still just read a quick intro. So I was born in 1957, India's space scientist, very well recognized. Dr. Sivan was Secretary of the Department of Space and Chairman of Indian Space Research Organization and Space Commission. He has previously served as the Director of the Vikram Space Center and Liquid Propulsion Systems Center. So may I have the honor to have you at this stage and share a few words with all of us you inspired, but since yesterday we've been just waiting for this moment to hear you. May I request you to be on the stage?
Respected my professor sitting in front of me, what best honor I can get. And my dear friend Pankaj, all my dear friends from Log9. When I received that this invitation, I slightly wondered whether I had to participate or not, whether I am the suitable person. Then I have seen that one small brochure or one half-page write-up Mr. Pankaj has sent to me. By reading that one, I thought I must attend and participate this grand event, this one. This mainly because what are happening here is very close to my heart. It's very close to ISRO. That's what I understood. There's a very strong relation between what Log9 is doing and what ISRO is doing. I could see the lifeline between these two organizations. Then I thought that I must attend and participate and interact with your people. That was my intention. My dear friends, I did not talk about too much about the space program. We have seen that that is around 63 years back, what happens to this country. It's exactly what's happening here. When that when the entire world was thinking about utilizing the space technology for distracting others, and also that is how to overpower others, one person is really thought innovative way how this advanced technology can be utilized effectively, constructively for developing that India. And the vision he had, Dr. Sarabhai, I just, when that the India was getting that leaded part by part, in fact, that is, I do not know whether it is they are done purposely or coincidentally it's happened. When that India got lit, the first portion got lit was northeastern region. And Dr. Sarabhai wanted this space program not for benefiting that the urban part of the country. He wanted the use of space technology for benefiting the remote place, unserved and underserved area, places like northeast region. And I could see immediately that how you people are thought, like what Dr. Sarabhai thought 63 years back. Log9 was thinking and lighting the northeast region. That really is a slide, it has made me wonder, the thought process, this one. When Dr. Sarabhai really that understood that the benefits of the space technology, how it can be utilized for the vast country like India, wherein 75% of the people are in the rural and remote places, and when he devised how to make use of this technology to integrate the entire India, It's something amazing. And I would say it is a highly risky job he did. And the disruption or innovation and risk, whatever we are talking now, he did it 63 years back. The benefits, what he thought was really we are enjoying now, the country. And not only that one, at that time, it was very easy for him to buy the technology or the issues just from the foreign countries, but he didn't want that. He wanted to create or generate the entire program and create the technology, develop the technology indigenously. That is more important, not buying something from outside. And definitely he worked for that, and the entire ISRO's stalwarts made the system functioning. Now, India has the indigenous capability to access space indigenously without anybody else in the world. We have the indigenous launch vehicle, indigenous cryogenic technology, indigenous satellite. Indigenously, we are really provide the services to the country. Now, what are the type of services really it is providing if you are seeing? Sometime back, you people, when you are very youngsters, you might have heard that some cyclone is hitting the east coast of India. And the next day, in the paper news gives around 22,000 people died in the cyclone. Now, the same type of cyclone when it is hitting, you can say that some 5 people died or 20 people died. This is the advantage really that benefits we derived from the space technology. And the fishermen, when we are really going to the sea, they are not knowing where to go and how to get the fish. Now, we have the satellite to identify where that fishes are available. And the fisherman, now we are given a small app to the fisherman, just like a mobile phone. Using the mobile phone, that app, simply it will go and direct them where to go. Simply they have to follow, and exactly they are following the route. That is the shortest route. Very less fuel they are spending, and they are bringing the fish catch. They are not even able to even bring the fish in the boat they got. That much fish catch they are getting. Of course, like any positive technology, some negative effect also there. This app contains very interesting the utility to identify the international borders of water. Our boys are understood that there are fish beyond the international border, and we are always thinking in a crooked way. That is a nice way, this one. So, to cross that border, they switch off the app. Then going there and catching the fish and coming. Sometimes they succeed, sometimes they are getting into trouble. This type of thing is going on. Like that, if you have gone add like that, the broadband connectivity. So not only this, we people living in the urban area is benefiting that broadband connectivity. Now the satellites are connecting to the remotest places. The whatever services they're also getting. Like that, I can go on add the services of the spacecrafts, the space technology. But what is it okay? I feel that we have not done our job. Even though Dr. Sarabhai did whatever done at 63 years back, he did for the correct thing. But in my opinion, at present, really we are not doing the job correctly because we are really lack of so many things. The first one is we are lacking in materials. When you talk about that rocket or spacecraft, nearly 85% of the cost of the rocket is on material, nothing else. This material, right now, we are not having in India, we are importing. If some companies in the world is refusing to give the material to us, there may not be any rocket in India, there may not be any satellite in India, there may not be any missiles in India. That is a situation. So the material development, material technology is very much essential. Is a indigenous technology development in this area is very much essential. It's a need of the hour, the country. The first thought I decided to come is to convey to you people that I understand that Log9 is really doing the material research it started with. And I wanted to convey, yes, you are on the right track. Please do and please innovate. And if you are innovating on the material technology, that is the essential part for ISRO. And we can cut our link with the foreign country. And if we are advancing the technology, I can go on give that what are the materials I want. I can tell you, and this one. And instead of we are buying from them, we should supply to them. That is the one area. And I want this Log9 you should invite me to inaugurate your big company, production company, one day. I will come there. This is one. That is my wish. That is I want. Second one is on the energy front. This is the second aspect. And definitely, when you talk about that satellite, the 50% of the satellite component is foreign component, FE component. Out of that, a major chunk, 20% of the satellite cost belongs to the battery cells, whatever we have procured from there. And this type of cells are used in that the launch vehicle also. Having understood the expenditure of so much foreign exchange, and ISRO, when I was in Vikram Sarabhai Space Center, and we indigenously developed the lithium-ion cell, and we transferred the technology. But definitely, our cells are much more costly because we people are so much afraid. We are so quality conscious, reliability conscious, and safety conscious. And definitely, you people cannot come with me because our cells are so costly. But still, we thought that this cell technology can be utilized for the Indian EV for that one. And we voluntarily give this one. And one among them is sitting here right now to get that technology to do that, the energy. This is the energy content, this next one. But I feel that at the same time, lithium-ion technology has its own difficult that I need not tell you. You know better than me because I am not the expert in that area. You know better than me whatever about that one. Yes, we need to do some innovation in that cell. And I was extremely happy to hear from Mr. Pankaj that the innovation, what they did yesterday, he briefly had a discussion with us. And definitely, this is going to make a milestone in the history in the world. I am sure that this particular cell, whatever they generated. And definitely, they have found the Log9 about a new chemistry. That's a wonderful thing, which gives that high energy density, whereas the fast charging and with the least risk, this one. And it is all the positive is happening there. And only thing is, it is essential to now make it a production. And that I don't want to allow any of the foreign technology to come here. The Tesla, the Elon Musk Tesla, they should buy the battery from Log9 and they have to use it for infinity. That is my wish, this one. And this is the third area is the innovation required in the space technologies is the propulsion. And even though you are not directly involved in the propulsion system need very, very exotic material. And what I understand, whatever the graphene, whatever you have developed, it must be useful for there. And we need to have a very high temperature material that withstanding this one. And maybe graphite is the one. Even you can take a research, a new area you can initiate. This area that is in the log tech, that is the high thermal material. And in that way, if I'm seeing that, I'm visualizing this one, and there is a whatever the Log9 is doing, I am seeing a small ISRO in Log9. Whatever happening, that is our. So definitely, you can contribute to the country, to the nation through ISRO. And not only that contribute to the country, and it is our duty to realize the dream of our honorable PM. Is really thinking about, dreaming about very, very bright India, young India, innovative India, and indigenous India. This is the vision he had. I am sure that Log9 will be able to contribute in a major way for this purpose, this one. And once again, I am wishing you, I am ready to interact with, yes, now I am free to give advice, this one. That is our advantage, this one. So definitely we can think freely, we can interact freely, and definitely the way you have created and the situation, the way you have grown up the company from that 40 times better, more than this one. The way our friend, he said that he is telling that he has come out of that foreign country to serve the country. Just I was remembering something that happened to me. That similar, immediately that only thought came to my mind. When I was working in the Vikram Sarabhai Space Center, the PSLV project, there was that Reagan Rajiv Gandhi Fellowship. That is, at that time Rajiv Gandhi was the Prime Minister and Reagan was the President of this one. They had their level, they had a discussion, they had a fellowship. And they invited the people, the 6 people from the country to be invited to go there to work in NASA and other things. Not different part of the thing, and one person from for the NASA. I was one among them. And very interestingly, my project director called me and told that you are selected, you have to go. You want to go or not? I said, I don't want to go. Wow. And it was a NASA's activity. If I went there, now I may be the citizen of the US. And this one, I said, I don't want to go to NASA. I don't want to go to USA. I wanted to see my PSLV launch. I wanted to serve for the country. That way I told. I refused. So that is a type of that our youngsters we have with the attaching to that country. And with the type of such type of team is part of Log9. I'm sure that it is not only me, that there are 500 or 400 Log9 people are also like me sitting here. I'm sure that Log9 will become more and more this one, and you're going to serve the country. I wanted to see the entire thing, this one. At the last, I just wanted to see another stray thing came to the mind. Because when I am sitting there, usually so many things will get processed in my mind parallelly. There's a parallel processing, that is my habit. Just when it was lighting, I just wanted to tell that I came from the southern tip of the country, and when I was lighting the top portion of the country. So that is a national integration. Let all of us work together to make India proud, to make India #1 in the global level in terms of economy and all the aspects. Thank you very much for inviting me. for giving interacting with you people. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. That was amazing, beyond words, and what an honor to hear you. Please. Akshay, Karthik, it is fair to say we found our fourth co-founder today. I remember sir said yesterday that I was talking to him, I couldn't resist asking, how is it working with Prime Minister Modi? While he talked a lot about it, and he talked about his previous time, he said that one thing that's been given to me is make more Sivans. And so in our opinion, I think we are all going to rub off that Sivan on all of us, and I think we are all going to find the color and the expression that you found with the ISRO. Super proud to be referred as the company that's moving in that direction, an inspiration that we've always had. Our guest of honor, ma'am, I have to tell this because when Akshay met you and he came back, a very interesting chit chat happened. And you know, as a startup, as a private company, when we're building, we're a little scared how to engage with the government, how to approach the government bodies, how to understand the policies framework that's being built in. And Akshay came back and he said, you know what, we have such great people building the country from a very different perspective, from policy, from enabling industries, from enabling infrastructure. And that conversation was a tipping point for us, and we said that it will be an honor to have you among us. I will quickly introduce Gunjan ma'am here. Gunjan Krishna is the Commissioner of Industry Development and Director of Industries, Department and Commerce, Karnataka. Ma'am is an IAS officer and did her graduation from Delhi University. I've been there, ma'am. And an avid exponent of electric vehicle revolution in India. She has spoken on multiple forums, and it will be a pleasure, ma'am, if we can have a few words from you about your vision of how India is shaping up, how electric vehicle revolution is happening, and how some of these technologies can push into the space where we are self-reliant, we are self-contained, and we are protected from any foreign exigencies.
Namaskara. In fact, congratulations to Log9 team. It's a very tall order to speak after Dr. Shivan with such an inspiring, you are an inspiration for all of us, and thank you for such a lovely speech. Talking about, you know, whenever you come and interact with a startup like Log9, actually you get energized, you get enthused, and you look at, you know, how you can redefine the workspace that you are in, what you can do for the country. And it's been a very inspiring moment for me. Thank you so much of energy. And what we are looking at this point of time, because we are living in a very difficult times. Geopolitically, if you look at it, we are seeing a war happening in Ukraine. We have seen a COVID crisis, and also we are looking at how our Mother Earth is facing the challenges that it is facing today. We are looking, I think the time is now to act, and the kind of activities which Log9 is doing is something that will go forward and take the Mother Earth and the cause of the Mother Earth forward. Now, we've been talking about, you know, how innovation is very important. And when we in government look at it, because, you know, most of us are seen as babus, and why the reason for most of us to reach out and go out to the startups, go to the industry, sit with the people, is to understand what is going on and how the policies can be really made that would help the common people and help the industries, help the startups, help the innovation to grow. And what we believe in the government is, and what has been our mantra is, innovation now will lead to growth forever. And that is what we believe in. And for that, we have tried to work out all the policies. Now, talking about the energy crisis, the electric vehicle that you have asked me to speak about, we are very upbeat. In fact, the government of Karnataka was the first state to come out with the electric vehicle policy and the charging policy. You will be very glad to know also that around 63% of our installed capacity comes from the renewable sources. And if an energy storage revolution such that Log9 is speaking about happens, then the Karnataka would be the first state which will be, you know, impacting on a very large scale. Because Despite 63% of the energy that comes from the renewable source, which have the installed capacity, we are only able to use around 39 to 40% because we do not have viable storage solutions. And our dependence, of course, on the conventional energy sources are always there. So what we need to look at aggressively is that how we can move away from the conventional source of energy to the alternate source of energy, and in which the key would be the, of course, the energy storage solutions. And that is where we are also looking in a big way. And we are talking not only, we can do a kind of a POC somewhere, that how in the grid, because we need to look at how the stability of the grid is important, how in the commercial place we can look at an energy storage solution. So open to a kind of a proof of concept somewhere we can do in the country, within the state. Other thing that we are also looking at is in the electric vehicle space is that not only one technology, electric vehicle, lithium ion, we talked about, Professor Sivan talked about, how materials are very important and we need to do. On this, I just have a small, anecdote. When the COVID-19 struck, and we realized, the dependency, how we are dependent on the materials on the foreign markets and the foreign countries, and that struck us in a big time. In fact, when you go to the ICU, your ICU ventilators, in fact, we were only manufacturing around 2,000-3,000 per year. And in Karnataka, there is a company, again, a good startup like Scanray, but it was only manufacturing 500 to 600, which were mostly exported. And when we required a huge number of ICU ventilators, we were at loss. How do we do it? And I must say, to the credit of the PSUs like BEL and HAL and the other ISROs also worked, DRDO also worked in that project, that within 3 months, we could make 30,000 ICU ventilator. And how it was possible is a lot of reverse engineering that happened. Because most of the materials and the raw material was coming from either from the US or from the Switzerland or from the other parts of the world. And at that point of time, if you remember, all the countries stopped the exports. So we were in a fix, how do we? So there every little technology was looked at, wherever DRDO and the other companies, so many other, from the aerospace and defense, because automotive industries, aerospace and defense and other, they closely work together and the technology is very similar. And lots of the solution we could find indigenously, because when the time demanded, the crisis demanded, we could actually rise up to it. If we have, people like these here within our country, and in fact, whenever I go abroad, make presentations, I always take 4 or 5 startup presentations of ours. Because, the stories like yours, like Log9 is the one, really inspire people. People are not aware what is happening in India. And these are the stories that we need to take them out. So my basic is like, I have come to learn here. I was not thinking that I'll be speaking also. Honestly, I just wanted to understand what's going on. What are the new startups doing? How we can work together. On that note, I would just like to conclude by saying that we are having in November in West Karnataka, and I would invite Log9 and all the other startups to work very closely, because we want to make it a one of its kind event where we can talk about innovation on a big way. We can showcase the innovations that are happening in Karnataka to the rest of the world. We are trying to get best of the speakers. We're going to have exhibition centers there. And the idea what we have, the theme that we have kept is build for the world. And the themes are 4, essentially your sustainability, equity, resilience, which is very, very important in today's time. So these are the themes that we are looking at it, and the growth, of course. So I invite you all to work with us. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to be here. Kudos to your team. A big shout out to the Log9 team, and I'm sure you'll be doing wonders. And let's work together to make this Karnataka, Bangalore, Log9, in the entire world, Thank you so much. Just as we have lit up the whole country, I think next time we should light up the whole world globe.
Thank you, ma'am. This was really inspiring. And as you were mentioning about Karnataka generating more than having installed capacity of more than 63% coming from renewable, actually, this very space where we are sitting today, within the next 3 months, we are taking off our entire auxiliary load, which includes the air conditioning, lighting, the EV charging that we have outside, completely off grid. So we're coming up with solar rooftop combined with our battery solution, and that will take us completely off grid. So it will be that first POC that you were looking for, and then we can go for a larger POC somewhere in Karnataka. So as I was listening to Professor Sivan, and one thing that I realized today, as he was mentioning, that the first lithium-ion cell technology was initiated by his own brainchild, that we should have that research happening in India, we should have the technology to start to develop in India. And that gives me so much, I can relate to that so much in that sense that we have been trying to do that at Log9, and we have him today with us. It has been a great honor, sir, to have you with us today. And further to that, I hope you are not thinking that this is it, this is what Day Zero was all about. The best part is yet to come. There's more. The exact space where we are sitting today here, below this shed, and behind the screen and beyond, the entire 25,000 square feet space, we are coming up with the largest cell fabrication line in Southeast Asia. This is going... This will be established at breakneck speed, and we will have it commissioned by September of this year itself. It will be the largest, it will be the fastest in the country. Can we give everybody a glimpse of what it will look like? This is the big leap for Log9, a small step for India on this path to Atmanirbharta. We will have a peak capacity of 50 megawatt hour, capable enough to produce 1,000 two-wheeler equivalent battery packs on a monthly basis. These are cells directly made here in India, made from the electrodes, materials that are prepared here at Log9 and going all the way into the vehicles itself. But this is about the scale that we are coming up with. But what about technology? We have often been asked, what is the chemistry? What is that secret chemistry that Log9 has been working around? How are we developing it? What is the future roadmap? How do we increase efficiency? How do we bring down cost? So to answer all of those questions, I have Hemant again with me on the stage, and we'll be walking you through the various measures, various steps that we are taking to progress cell technology, not just creating it or reverse engineering it, but also progressing and constantly advancing it. So as we started on our drawing board to look at what do we require in India when it comes to cell technology, when it comes to energy storage, India has very different requirements, both from its climatic conditions, as well as the types of vehicles that we use and the way we use them. Also, infra becomes another important aspect in this puzzle. And these challenges or these requirements are very different from what we see in the temperate part of the world, whether it is US, Europe, China, Japan, Korea, all of these places. The problem is that we are just borrowing or copy-pasting technologies from there into the Indian context. And then we crib about that it's not working well, we have safety issues, we have incidents happening, we are not getting the best reliability and performance. There is a saying which says that if you want to copy, you have to be intelligent about it. And that's what we had in mind when we started to build our roadmap for cell technology development. And what we build for India today is not going to remain here. The same challenges, the same problems are faced by the entire tropical belt of the world. The problem is that all the battery innovators, the battery leaders in the world don't even have a motivation to sell to us. Forget about them looking at customizing or building solutions ground up. So we need to be self-reliant from that perspective for building that resilience in India and then translating it to the entire tropical belt of the world. Let's talk about chemistries. We've all heard about NMC and LFP. These are the choice of chemistries which are going into electric vehicles today. And we have vaguely heard about another kid in the candy land, which is LTO. These technologies are different in their composition. These technologies, some have their own pros and cons. Some work for India, some don't work for India. At the same time, some chemistries are more resilient or have a better performance in the conditions that we have versus the others. One of the key aspects is the temperature resilience of these chemistries. So when the battery gets heated up, and if there is a chance that the cells increase or they have an increase in their temperature of more than 80 degrees Celsius, they can automatically go into a cascading effect, into a thermal runaway as we call it. And that cycle is very, very quick in case of NMC, and it directly leads to a fire or explosion scenario. Whereas LFP is slightly more resilient, it will go into thermal runaway, but the process is slower and it is limited to the cell opening up and releasing fumes and smoke. And that's the reason we have to be conscious in making the choices, the kind of chemistry that we are choosing for building India's self-reliance in energy storage. But then, I was talking to one of my friends about the LTO technology, right? And he called it the ninja technology of the cell chemistries. Because it is not only temperature resilient, it has a very long life, it is away from any kind of physical abuse, and nothing can really happen to the cell. Can we have the cell safety video, please? As we saw, no matter you throw it, you drill through it, you cut it open, it doesn't seem to have any effect. And that's the choice, or that's the reason why we seriously thought about looking at LTO technology here at Log9, and that's what we have been calling the high power cells. At the same time, when we're looking at further roadmap and further choosing the right kind of cell chemistries for India and what we want to develop here at Log9, another important aspect is material availability. Which materials can lead to better self-reliance from an India perspective? So Hemant, can you tell us about the various materials required for NMC, LFP, and LTO?
So Professor Savin talked about the availability of the material being a biggest constraint when you develop a technology. One thing that we wanted to do when we were designing the technology was to start from ground zero and understand what reserves we have and what we don't. And I think one thing is clear, that we don't have the lithium reserve that stays consistent with all the three technologies. But on NMC, we have manganese, we have graphite, we have abundance of iron, we have copper and aluminium. But nickel and cobalt, which majorly makes up most of the cost of the bill of material in the NMC, unfortunately, we don't have that. When it comes to LFP, we have huge reserves of rock phosphorus that goes for LFP manufacturing. We have, again, graphite, iron, copper, aluminium. I think we don't have to worry about those materials. When it comes to LTO, the list becomes smaller. You have lithium is, of course, an issue, but you have titanium, we have, again, aluminium, and we have huge reserves of manganese that can directly go into the cathode. So what we wanted to drill down on is to see what reserves we have in India and what sort of technology we can use to make us self-reliable in terms of building a strong supply chain.
So that's one of the other very important factors, that what elements, what materials we have today available as natural resources in the country. While it's still an uphill task to make sure that we get these materials in battery grade, but at least we have the natural reserves and that can be developed. So while Log9 is working with various academic institutions and research organizations in India, to name a few, IIT Bombay, IIT Delhi, ISC Bangalore, to develop these material processes, to upgrade them to battery grade, it is an important choice to have, that what chemistries do we choose. And with that, I announce the TIB series of cell technologies coming out of Log9. TIB over here stands for tropicalized ion battery, batteries which can work resiliently in the conditions that we have and can be built with materials that are available within the country. And with this, we have chosen to progress technology advancement in LFP as well as LTO cell chemistries. And with what happens with LTO is that you get a chemistry or a solution which is long life and rapid charging. At the same time, when you progress LFP technology, you get the solution for cost efficiency as well as long range. So the combination of these two chemistries, we can solve for all the requirements that we have, that we can possibly imagine about in the country, whether it is electric mobility, whether it is energy storage, or whether it is any other battery application, even including space research and space exploration. So Hemant, can you tell everybody about that, why are the right combinations of anodes and cathodes important for these resilience and long life and reliability from the cells?
So when you're designing a cell, the safety issue comes in how you choose your anode and cathode, because it's a cascading reaction that happens, and that builds up the energy and leads to explosion, which you saw in case of NMC. So when you have high voltage cathode and high voltage anode stuck together in one cell, when the thermal runaway starts, the anode degradation starts, and then it has an impact on the cathode. And what ends up happening is too much energy accumulated in a defined volume, and it leads to the fire explosions. Now, Log9 strategy is that you use the low voltage anode, low voltage cathode. That would be the ideal state. But because it comes with less energy density, with high price, so we cannot do that. The right way, the best way to do it is you use high voltage anode combined it with low voltage cathode. You use low voltage anode and combine it with high voltage cathode. That's what we are trying to do with our LFP and LTO chemistries over here.
Absolutely. So while you can always choose to combine the high voltage cathode with high voltage anode and have the highest of energy density, but at what cost? At the cost of reliability, at the cost of safety, and at the cost of life that you can drive out of these chemistries. That's why it is best to combine low with high and get LFP and LTO chemistries. Now let's talk about what these chemistries offer. For example, if we look at LTO, it is very good, and as you have seen, safety, reliability is out of question altogether. Even in life, it has the longest life in cell chemistries. It has the highest power density, hence the rapid charging. But yes, it does have limitations on the cost side as well as on the energy density side. But even on the cost side, if you look at it, the cost is also a relatable factor. Whether you're talking only about the upfront cost or you are talking about lifetime amortized cost. With higher upfront cost but a 5 times, 10 times longer life, the running cost or the total cost of ownership that we talk about in the industry is far lower. Now coming to LFP on this side, it is a common man's chemistry. It has a mix of almost everything, a slight bit of shortfall on the power density side, and we can always like to have more energy density packed into LFP as well. So as we go forward, we would like to talk about how these technology advancements are coming about at Log9, what are the various partners that we are working with to make it happen, and what are the interventions that we are doing. Let's talk about the chemistry interventions to start with. Here, the target is that we improve the energy density of the LTO technology by 76%. And that would make it worthwhile for any kind of intra-city mobility application and all sorts of stationary energy storage applications. Hemant, can you tell everybody how we are going to do it?
So what chemistry interventions that we are doing is to first shift to a low cobalt cathode. LTO, as I mentioned, it has a low voltage anode. We want to combine it with high voltage cathode. Generally, that's cobalt rich. That's the state of the art. But what we want to do is to move beyond that, because there are huge supply chain issues on the cobalt-based materials. So there we are expecting that by doing so, we can increase the capacity of the material and increase the energy density by 8%, followed up by removing the cobalt, through and through. We'll have 0% cobalt in our cathodes, and we'll shift to the manganese-rich chemistries, which will boost up our voltage a bit and increase the energy density by about 10%. And the third intervention that we are doing is to shift to zero-strain, high-capacity anode, which is XNO anode, and overcome the limitations of the LTO side. And that way, we can increase the energy density by about 48%. So all in all, we can increase the energy density by almost 76%, which will be a huge boost to this technology.
And with energy density improvement, we get two things free of cost. We always like freebies, right? We get cost benefit and we get self-reliance at the same time. So as we move to this kind of energy density improvement, we are looking at a 7% reduction in price, dollar per kilowatt hour, from our intervention on low cobalt-rich cathodes. Then further 32% with manganese-rich cathodes coming in, and another 15% coming in from the intervention on the anode side. So all put together, we will have a more than 40% of reduction in the cost of LTO technology upfront itself.
I think when you talk about LTO, the elephant in the room is the cost. Everybody comes up and say, how would you make it cheaper? And I think this is the way, this is the roadmap of Log9 to make it cheaper and make it economically viable.
Now let's talk about LFP. How can we really advance this technology as well? And the way we are looking at it is to kind of switch from smaller format LFP cells to larger format, which improves the energy density by 5% automatically because you have less dead weight in the system. Then we improve the cathode by doping it with suitable elements so that you can further improve the energy capacity of the cathode, leading to a 15% benefit on energy density side. And then finally incorporating silicon-rich anodes to further improve the energy density of the entire cell chemistry. So overall, looking at a benefit of around 27% increase on the energy density side. But this is not where we are stopping. It is not only about advancing the chemical formulations. It's also about looking at the right choice of cell design, the cell format, and at the same time, the processing techniques. So let's talk about cell formats. So we typically have 3 types of cell formats: cylindrical, pouch, and then prismatic. When we talk about the benefits of the cylindrical format, there are many. Hemant, can you help us with that?
So if you look at the cylindrical form factor, and the reason we want to particularly focus on that first is cylindrical form factor has been, available throughout our life. We have seen the Duracell cells which have been available in cylindrical form factor. Now, what happens is over the years, because of the improvement in the technology, because of the more automation that comes on the cylindrical form factor, you have lesser wastage of material, almost by 50%, when you're fabricating a cell. The other thing is the cylindrical form factor is very, very, intrinsically it is suitable to withstand the pressure, right? Just imagine pressure cooker in your kitchen. Now, in Indian environment where temperature is higher, when the undesired parasitic reactions are, more prone, there's more gases that come out, cylindrical form factor will give you a resiliency to withhold that structure, withhold that shape, as compared to pouch cell or prismatic cells. We have seen in the market, the prismatic cells because of the long-term storage in the even in the inventory or the vehicles put on the road, the cells deform, which is something that won't happen in the cylindrical form factor. There's high throughput. It comes back to the technology that has been developed, the automation that has been done on the equipment side. And because there is a high throughput, there is a 6% lower cost when it comes to a bigger scale production.
So, Hemant, given that cylindrical had so much benefits, right, why did people look at prismatic formats, for example, when they wanted to have larger capacity cells?
So prismatic cells are good because a lot of energy can be stored in those cells. And the reason for that is the casing itself are bigger, and you can use thicker electrodes to hold that capacity in. Now, even though that there is a prismatic form, what happens is the cell to pack, when you take the cell and you make the pack, there's more efficiency and there's more energy density that can be available on the pack side. But there is a big but over here. With India's first tabless technology.
So basically, those are the challenges. But with introducing India's first tabless technology, and which will enable us to create high capacity cells with all the benefits of the cylindrical format. And this will lead to better power, better energy, and still provide resilience and high throughput on production side. What we are talking about here is 20 times more energy packed into one single cell as compared to smaller format LFP cells. And at the same time, 24 times more power packed into the same cell. So that's the reason Log9 has chosen to progress the cylindrical format for our cell chemistries. And we already have them here. So this is the kind of cell, what you plugged in was smaller, 20 of those cells can fit into this one single cell. And when you have that, you have lesser number of cells going into a battery pack that reduces cell-to-cell variability at the pack level, ensuring more reliable, longer life packs to happen, at the same time ensuring that your manufacturing becomes simpler and more cost-effective.
Actually, I want to add one more thing here, that because of the tablet structure, the cooling system that you place, because there is a asymmetric dissipation of the heat, it's much easier to remove the heat when you connect those cooling connectors on the tab of the cell. So making those cooling systems even get easier for any manufacturer who is making the battery packs.
And then comes the process. With process innovations, you can further drive down cost, improve sustainability of manufacturing, and lead to better cells coming out of your assembly line. Hemant, would you like to step us through it?
So I think one thing is everybody is focusing on lithium-ion batteries should not be a greenwash to the environment. We want it to be impactful. We don't want to create so much emissions while building the lithium-ion batteries and then end up creating those emissions altogether when we are manufacturing them. So what we have been working on is aqueous-based slurry preparation, where we are not using any organic solvents, where it's easier to remove those solvents when the slurry is coated on the electrodes. And what it does is two things. First is that it reduces your dependency on the organic solvent, which are not good for the environment. Second, because it's easier to dry these aqueous-based electrodes, the amount of energy, heat energy that you're required to dry the electrodes is much less. And when you take both in consideration, you have 20% lower CO2 emissions, which aligns with our goal of creating a greener future with lithium-ion batteries. Because you don't need controlled environment, controlled humidity environment, you have 3% reduction in the capex of setting up the infrastructure, and less operational expense means that you have 7% reduction in the cost per kilowatt hour.
And that drives down cost further and improves efficiency. So the constant effort is to progress technology, advanced technologies towards sustainability and cost efficiency. And the last part is about once the cells are made, how can you improve efficiency over there?
So I think most of the people who know about lithium-ion batteries know one thing for sure, that the formation process takes a long time, and the formation process is very expensive and takes the maximum footprint in the factory. So what we are working on is to develop fast formation process, which will reduce the process time by 40%. And those who are a bit non-technical and cannot understand that, I cannot emphasize on this 40% number, because it makes a huge difference when it comes to the throughput of the factory and further reduction of the cost. We will be reducing the equipment footprint by 35%. And in this process, because there's less equipment required, there's less capex required, we can reduce the price by 6% per kilowatt hour.
Want the metastable slide.
And in total, if we take everything in consideration, Log9 intends to decrease the price of lithium-ion cell on the LTO side by almost 60%. And with LFP, we intend to decrease the cost by almost 35%.
So one question which got left behind was what do we do about the lithium requirement? How do we solve for lithium availability in this country? Don't worry, we have thought about it. There is a startup which we are supporting within the founders of Log9, again coming out of our beloved IIT Roorkee, which has come up with a new process to reduce the capex and the opex of lithium recycling and improve efficiency. Can I have Shubham on the stage, please? So introducing to you all Metastable, a company which is pioneering lithium recycling in India with a patented technology that reduces 90%, which enables more than 90% material recovery happening from the lithium ion cells. At the same time, reduces the capex of the process by 60% and improves OPEX by more than 40%. So there's a big step in realizing our self-reliance from a lithium ion technology perspective, because we don't need to depend for even lithium reserves outside. Just to give you a fact, today we have enough old lithium ion batteries roaming around in our ecosystem, enough for 50% of all our EV demand for a lithium ion perspective. There's a huge potential of urban mining in the country, and we can become the hub for lithium recycling to take care of our local needs. Shubham, can you tell us about your vision for Metastable?
Yeah, good afternoon from Team Metastable. So Metastable vision is to put India as a pioneer of recycling in the world. India became the pioneer of recycling world. The entire team of Metastable Materials is working on recycling itself. So we are closing the recycling loop one element at a time, starting with lithium.
Thank you, Shubham.
So rather than building, we are made in India, we are made for the world. Thank you.
That's all. I think you like the roadmap that we have in front of us. We are constantly advancing efficiency and cost efficacy. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Akshay. Thank you, Karthik. TIB time has come, for sure. And it's almost surreal to look at it from where we started, looking at a simple cell, understanding how it's made, to arriving at a first principle understanding of what needs to happen inside a cell, to making the cell that's built for India. When I talk about cell chemistries, when I talk about scale, when I talk about batteries, we have been fortunate enough to have partnered with one of India's leading, I would say, battery giant that has shaped the energy landscape for this country. A journey that started almost 25, 35 years back, when India was still figuring out what to do with power sources and storage. Amar Raja Battery came up with the VRLA platform and created the self-reliance of a supply chain of a technology based on which India grew through those 30 years of advancement. And we have the honor and pleasure of having Vikram and Vijay among us. And I thought it would be great if I can welcome Vikram to the stage and hear from him how he's building Amar Raja. What is it that they have looked at it? What does it mean to think about doing lithium ion production at scale? How do we build this country together, Vikram? Can I have your words on that, please?
Very good morning to everybody, and thank you so much for having me here on your day zero. I thought it's very important for me to kind of express, as Amar Raja Batteries, what we found very exciting about Log9 and why we've decided to have this kind of long-term partnership along with them. I think we've heard from many great speakers, and the Log9 team is also kind of trying to illuminate to all of us why it's very important to design chemistry from the startup in India. I think the first thing we really liked about Log9, as Amar Raja, whenever we try to go and find technology, cutting-edge technology, the usual strategy is to go around the world, see what's happening, and try to bring back some technology from other part of the world to India. But then the challenge always lies, India is not like any other place in the world. You have to really design something for the Indian environment, the Indian customer, Indian ethos, and expectations here. So when the Log9 team was walking us through their facility and showing that they have capability, not just to design a cell or a battery pack, but to work at the fundamental chemistry level, getting down to the atomic level to deliver a solution that's good for India, that was one thing that really clinched the deal for us, that we want to know more about this company. Another thing, I think in India, we're always quick to point out what we don't have, But I thought one of the resources, while we talk about all the metals and all the different things, raw materials, the number one resource that India will never run out of, and why I think this country is so exciting for the world, is its people. We have the most talented people in the world, and given the opportunities, I think they can accomplish anything. And each time we spoke to the Log9 team, I think the real deal clincher for us was Akshay, Pankaj, Karthik, Hemant, and all of you. This team that they've been able to bring in such a short amount of time, that's what makes Amaraja very, very excited to continue working with you. And I think whatever steps that Log9 would like to take, I think most of the time we're just asking questions and saying, okay, go ahead. But you know, for the long term, we're in it with you, and whatever support you need from us, and however best you think we can work together, we're here for you. Let's make this happen.
Thanks, Vikram. Really, it's been a pleasure, and to find a partner who's built the same way, you know, who's built for excellence, who's built for scale, somebody who understands the basics of chemistries and how that chemistry can unwind itself into the future of possibilities. That has been, you know, it's been one of the best alliances that we've had, and to have somebody in India who understands that is fundamental to us. Among us, I also have one of our stalwarts. You know, Vijay is somebody we all look up to, both for guidance and for understanding the market. Vijay comes up with decades of experience in energy sector. He's a textbook in himself, and a pleasure to hear. Vijay, if I may invite you to the stage and understand from your thoughts how this kind of an effort can lead India into the generations of new innovation and energy surplus that we all want to reach out to.
Thanks, Pankaj, and good morning to everyone here. It's been very exciting to be part of this whole experience of launching the first economically viable, I've underlined that, and commercial scale cell manufacturing facility here. Two things strike us whenever we come here. Vikram already talked about the kind of energy and this, the spirit of innovation here. But to me, as you know, I always play the devil's advocate, challenging all the ideas that you people come out with so that we refine it. But I think the art of making impossible possible is what I take away whenever I come here. I look back 30 years ago when we brought certain technology innovation to this country that enabled the mobile networks today, where you can set up batteries without anybody attending to that, maintenance free. So we knew that you got to challenge status quo. We knew that you have to think out of box. And when I was listening to you, Akshay and Hemant, narrating your choices of cell chemistry and your choices of cell form factor, as people who are involved with this debate, form factor, chemistry, what works, what doesn't work, on one hand, you have an array of choices to make on technology side. On the other hand, you have an array of end-use applications, stationary, in mobile, and specific to India, we are talking about solving problems that probably are not there elsewhere in the world. And so it's a very refreshing and very assuring feel that you get when you looked at how you're making those choices. I always believe that one solution doesn't solve everything that we need to solve in India. But the conviction and the definitiveness with which you're backing up the LTO on one side and the LFP on the other side using cylindrical cell format, I'm pretty assured that this would solve a big portion of the problem out there. It may not be end of all, but it's going to be a very significant portion. I just want to share how things are shaping up around the globe and in the Indian context as well. As we speak today, perhaps there is about 300, 400 gigawatt hours of installed operating capacity for lithium batteries in the globe. And 8 years from now, 2030 being a very significant marker. I kept tracking it for the last 2 years. People said it'll be 1200 gigawatt hour. And 3 months down the line, it went up to 1400 gigawatt hour. So every 3 months, this number of targeted installed capacity around the globe by 2030 keeps updated. And as we speak today, it's talked about 3000 gigawatt hour of capacity. And a lot is happening out there. Already a lot happened in China, but a lot started happening in Europe, and a lot more is happening in US as we speak. And I think the first few baby steps on that have started taking place in India. And today we have seen a very definitive, sure-footed step happening here in this campus. And it's going to create significant challenges for us, the supply chain volatility, the technology choices that we need to make, the shifts in technology that will continue to happen. There are questions that, if you go through the cylindrical form factor, what happens to solid state down the line? There are deeper questions that we probably have to, bring back onto the table to discuss. But the volatility around supply chain, the dynamism around the technology evolution, and the adoption of these technologies into end-use applications, I don't think we have defined and narrowed as to where all this will go and end up. That itself is going to evolve. The vertical offtake and landing, electric aviation is an exciting that people talk about. You will see flying cars all around us, not very far into the future. So these are the kind of variables, these are the kind of uncertainties that need to be solved. One way you can look at all of that and get lost. The other way is to get excited. And I believe Log9 is very excited, and we are also excited to be party to that. Thank you. All the very best to whatever you're doing, and we definitely want to be part of the journey. Thank you.
Thank you, Vijay. As we've been building all the technologies, there have been some leaders that we have been partnering, collaborating. Michael has been one of our strong proponents. Michael is somebody who has been an industry leader. He's been with, under the ultra capacitor form factors and cell chemistry. He's worked very, very hard in terms of bringing the most complex ultra cap technologies to the market. And we have a short video that Michael can play for us. May I have Michael's video played?
Hello everyone, this is Michael Leakey, and I'm talking to you at this exciting day from San Diego, California. I've been working with Log9 materials for about 1 year now. I used to work in automotive, mainly Mercedes-Benz and BMW. You're all probably familiar with these brands. But then 16 years ago, somebody approached me and said, you want to try something totally new? It's called energy storage. So I joined Maxwell Technologies, which was the leader in ultracapacitors, and I became the VP of Business Development. And I really helped to grow this company, the brand, and also the applications going into markets that were completely unknown, at those days. But also I was able to get the very first automotive programs, for ultracapacitors. There's millions of cars on the road now that are basically driving with, my ultracapacitors inside. But then after leaving Maxwell, I also worked for another company in Europe, Skeleton Technologies. You might have heard of these guys as well. But as I mentioned now for last year, I have been working, with Log9 material, a team which is absolutely exciting and so much fun to work with, because these guys are very creative and they're super fast. When we discuss something on the phone, on the video call, in the days of Zoom, I can count on one thing, next time we talk again, what we discussed is already done. And I think, a lot of that work, you will see this today, as you are getting the opportunity to walk through this facility. One of the things, we also did, doing our work, originally I started working primarily on supercapacitor, which is a high power device. It's a device that can provide electricity or energy super fast. But Log9 is not just stopping there. They continue the work to go into this new technology called LTO. In reality, it's not quite that new, but the previous companies that worked on that, they never really saw the full potential of this technology. They never saw, that there is numerous applications that are just ideal for this battery technology, ideal for this type of energy storage. Having a capability of super fast, rapid charging of this device with the amount of energy that is sufficient for many, many applications. Log9 is focusing on something, that we coined now the tropicalization of the product. It will be the first tropicalized ion battery. Why is this so important? Well, I can tell you something from my past experience. We had these cells, I'm just going to take one of these here. We had these cells and we put them into a test chamber, high humidity and also high temperature. This was for a BMW program in my previous life. And they ran these tests, they cycled them, and suddenly after they were taking them out of the test chamber, they realized the cells, they got heavier, which meant they were sucking in water. Some water was working its way into the cell, which then would have translated to one thing, premature death of the cells. And this is exactly what the Log9 team is working on so that this doesn't happen. Nobody else is looking into the market that Log9 is addressing. The Indian market, but then also the neighboring countries, the entire tropicalized area. This would be in Southeast Asia, in South America, in Africa. It's a huge market that nobody's really looking into. So I think this is a fantastic strategy, and I can't wait to see, what other products will come out of that, and all these other applications that nobody has even thought of before. So I hope you all have a great time at the opening, and trust me, I wish I could be there. I really wish I could be there. Just turn around, there's somebody there from Log9, and these guys, they really know their stuff. So enjoy the day, and hopefully we'll see each other one day in real life, in person. Take care, bye.
So Michael has built that company that got acquired on the Ultra Cap. We all know the biggest EV company in the US that acquired the company. The technology, Michael was at the center of that tech development and commercialization. We've all heard Professor Sivan and Vijay talk about the issues with the supply chain, and it's a very complex piece to solve. And to resolve that, we're joining hands with Umicore today. And if I can invite Akshay on stage. And also our team from Umicore on stage. Because this is the most critical piece. How do you solve the supply chain issues? And we thought it would be a best opportune day for us to exchange our collaboration and begin.
This is an opportunity for us to start the collaboration on battery material supply chain, working with Umicore to explore innovative ways to indigenize these supply chains. Thank you for being a partner with us.
Yes, absolutely. So Kedar, the most complex piece here, supply chain. What's your views?
Yeah. First of all, thank you. Thank you for sharing this piece of cooperation. I think we have been interacting with Hemant, Robin, and Akshay, and Pankaj, really thrilling, and Karthik. I'm really excited. I see the energy in Log9ers behind. Just give me a lot of energy. And if you're going to build this with this energy, we are going to be the material behind. So we assure you that whatever is needed, we'll move fast at next breaking speed. We'll do. I just want to share one anecdote here because Professor Dr. Sivan talked about it, and he talked about how things were. We are a large country, and we have specific requirements. In 90s, when Japan and Sony was building lithium-ion battery, we got an inquiry then, and this I am told by my colleagues in Umicore. They had some few requirements of cobalt oxide, few grams, few grams. And the supply happened, and how happened? Go to Japan, you see these temples. They have these blue tiles, and the blue tiles have cobalt oxide. And Umicore is a reference for cobalt because we have clean supply chain on that and reliable supply chain. From that few grams with Sony, then lithium ion, and then it became a business, and what today is Umicore. So 1 out of 5 batteries today have Umicore cathode materials. So be assured that we'll see what best we could do for you, and let's see how we can cooperate. Hemant, let's work on it, yeah? Thank you so much.
Super excited. Thank you for being here. Thank you.
Thank you, Kedar. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, maybe we can open the floor for a Q&A. I know we have our August members from our media. Today is the day we've opened up our chemistry. Today is the day we've opened up our plans. Today is the day we've talked about how we're going to build solutions, not only for electric mobility, but also for stationary power. And happy to answer any questions that you have for us today.
Can we please circulate the mics at the back?
Hi, this is Stephen here from DriveSpark, and the question is regarding lithium recycling. So, yes, we can recycle, and but how much of the requirement would that suffice?
So on the lithium recycling part, the new process which Metastable has been able to develop, we can look at 90% of all materials by weight being recycled. At the same time, India has been very efficient in various forms of recycling. We get lots of electronic and other sorts of waste coming in from the globe and being recycled in India already. We want to build, or the vision is to kind of build that kind of a supply chain wherein old used batteries from around the world can dock into India, and we set up large recycling facilities and extract lithium that we need for building new batteries for the country. Can we get the Karthik's mic on, please?
Yeah. So just so if you see the current technologies in the market, they're being adopted in the commercial space altogether when we see in the EV market. Commercial use case is very high. So every 2.5 years, you see those batteries coming back to the market for recycling. The market is also increasing. There's a high CAGR in terms of the EV adoption happening every year on year. But if you see the vehicles it is going in, that has a longer life. So that has a longer life than the batteries today. So ideally, recycling can solve almost 50 to 60% of the problem that we have if done efficiently. The whole problem of recycling today is that making it commercially viable to put the materials extracted back in the EV ecosystem becomes tougher because fresh materials in some sense, though discounting the current supply chain issue which is present, but 2 years, 3 years back, the fresh materials were cheaper in some sense and recycling costs were high. And hence recycling, just similar to, for example, what we are doing in the chemistry itself, recycling process has to innovate to bring down those costs and make it viable to leverage that. Just like in VRL or lead acid, if you see, a lot of lead that is used is mostly recycled.
I think one more example would be the aluminium recycling. Earlier we used to produce a lot of aluminium with bauxite. Right now, if you look at most of the alloy manufacturers or the companies who are making aluminium sheets, they are doing it with scrap aluminium. So sort of we call it urban mining, which is lithium ion recycling. So when we do the urban mining, a time will come when there will be a balance between the lithium and the other metals that we can extract from the dead batteries that we have and what we require for the future. So that is supposed to come by mid of 2030s.
So the problem of e-waste and the the TCO of the vehicle altogether, just because of the battery replacement, can either be solved by just two things: increase the life, which we are doing here in Log9 of the whole cell, or do efficient recycling, which Metastable is looking at.
Hi Akshay, Sumant here from ET Auto.
Hey, Sumant.
Did you consider applying for ACC PLI at any point in time?
I think we as Log9 are too small to apply for ACC PLI, given the eligibility requirements. But in general, the way we look at it is, while subsidies are necessary to kickstart the market, but if we're talking about local innovation and local technology development, we should not be depending upon subsidies. The way we are developing technologies, we don't need.
Yeah, this is Chetan from Business Today. Taking forward your point with someone's question, you're right when you say for developing good technology, subsidies are not needed, but yes, it eventually helps you in saving some money and cost, don't you think so?
It does, but it also comes with its own pros and cons, and it's all in its own constraints in terms of how we want to progress the technology, which technology is subsidized and not subsidized, and what is the path of progress that we are looking at. At the same time, we have done our math, and this is a number vaguely that I remember from our analysis a couple of months back, that we are looking at an overall benefit that we can accrue from PLI subsidy on the ACC PLI scheme of around 6%. We're talking about 60% plus cost reduction by technology interventions. So as Log9, we want to focus on that.
So, sorry, please.
Yeah, and so if you want to see, so the problem with PLI currently came in because there was no one kickstarting the whole process of production at scale. eventually, if technology is indigenized and it starts to manufacture, I think government is supportive enough to increase duties for imported cells, which in itself would be a very direct intervention on promoting the local cell manufacturing itself, because EV demand is nonetheless there and it's going to increase. Technologically, you make the whole technology or the whole product cheaper, and the duties will sort of protect the Indian manufacturers altogether.
So you're saying that if you would have applied for PLI, if you would have been eligible, it would not have been that a great, so to say, a progress, rather than it would have been a constraint because of the rules and regulations the PLI scheme would have introduced.
At least we are not able to create parity at this scale from Log9's perspective, because you also have to imagine the commitment and investment that is required for being eligible for the PLI scheme, ACC PLI scheme, and fortunately or unfortunately, we are yet to get there.
And instead, you would want from the government side to have a duty structure that would eventually protect the indigenized battery manufacturing facilities in India.
That is happening across the globe. That is already happening. If you look at the example from Europe, any batteries that are being built there, the government is asking for it to be made locally. So large facilities are coming up in the European countries for cell manufacturing as well as battery manufacturing today.
We have Make in India, even US has Made in US. So I think everyone is trying to become energy independent in some sense.
And I think Europe is already seeing that with what's happening in Ukraine.
So Akshay, in the light of recent instances of fires in electric vehicles, it is the cell which is blamed in many quarters. Once local production of cells starts, there is a threat or an apprehension that not all companies will be that diligent as far as manufacturing of it is concerned. So if do you propose or would you recommend any regulation on how these cells are also manufactured or tested, validated, so that we don't end up producing the kind of bad quality cells that we are as of now importing from China?
See, the overall industry is in a nascent stage at this point of time. And like any other new upcoming nascent industry, we cannot blame the regulator, or we cannot say that the regulator has to step in and say and put in very strict measures and everything, because it also becomes a hindrance in the growth of the industry. But at the same time, it is the primary responsibilities of the companies involved in the process, whether it is the cell maker, whether it's the battery maker, whether it's the vehicle maker, to make sure that we bring in the best practices in the industry when we are making or manufacturing these products. Otherwise, the biggest loss is for these companies who are involved. It's very unfortunate that we had loss of life as well, but at a macro level, the biggest loss is to those brands, to those companies which are not making the responsible choices, responsible for the customer, responsible for the nation, and at the same time responsible for the environment.
In the challenge, there is a solution also, Subhan. So, it's blessing in disguise that it's a complex thing to build. And hence, you just can't get a mom and pop shop come together. They say, tomorrow I'm going to launch the lithium-ion cell. I'm going to make, few number of cells. Because you need to attain a certain scale to become commercially viable. What it means is it requires investment, it requires manpower, it requires scientific pursuit. I'm seeing, our members in the industry who are understanding the chemistries. What we are starting to see is that there is a desire to understand the fundamentals of chemistry. And if you look at it, India is great at chemistry. We have the largest chemist base in India. So I think I am hopeful that this sense of responsibility that we all are building into, the overarching aspect of it is that the technology is complex. You would require a great set of people to come together at a scale to do this. And we will continue to, keep that flag up and keep the conversation up. And I think, as media, it's again, I always urge that we should always put safety as a part of a conversation whenever we're talking about technology. And I think together, we are the custodian of that conversation. And I'm hopeful that India will become a self-reliant, lithium-ion technology-based country.
And do so reliably and safely. And that's the reason we were prompted to talk about design choices, chemistry choices, process choices from a safety perspective first, and then reliability, performance, and longevity angles at a secondary step.
Hi, I have a question. This is Puneet Bharadwaj from DriveSpark. Yeah. So, based on the presentation, when talking about the cell, the advantages where you mentioned that based on the energy, it can accommodate 25 cells in one, and also on the power density. So power was 25 and the energy was 20. So may I know what is it benchmarked against?
This is benchmarked against the smaller cells which are going in the EV batteries today. So we have smaller format cells ranging from 18650, 21700 kind of small format cylindrical cells. And the problem with that, as I was mentioning earlier, is that when you have smaller cells, you need to have much more of them. So a battery pack made out of smaller cells, we will have hundreds of cells inside them. And because these are cells which are physically made on an assembly line, they will have variance inherently being there. And the industry accepted practice is to have 2 to 3% cell-to-cell variation going into the battery pack, which, if not managed properly at the BMS level, can lead to performance issues and, in the more stark of the situations, lead to safety issues as well. But when you have lesser number of cells going into the battery pack, the variation is reduced, manufacturing becomes simpler. Because there are lesser number of cells, you can test them more intrinsically or more deeply before putting them in the pack. So while the industry standard today is 2 to 3% of variation depending upon manufacturer to manufacturer, we are already doing less than 1% cell-to-cell variation in the packs that we are putting out in the market.
Just to give you the numbers, a typical Tesla car has 4,400 2170 cells. Now just imagine you have to control the voltage, you have to monitor the currents from all 4,400 cells in just one car. And how easy it will become if you have a bigger cell size to, to let go of the complexity, let go of the complex electronics and the pack design.
So we talk about battery management system, right? It is the heart or the brain of the pack itself, which controls how the pack performs, what are the safety protocols and everything. Battery management systems has multiple ports in which each cell is connected for monitoring. And when we have much more number of cells, you have to plug in, let's say 10, 20, 50 of cells into one single port. And then what happens is you are not able to monitor each and individual cell, rather you get just an average value of how 50 cells or 20 cells are performing together. And that leads to further risk from a safety and reliability perspective.
Hi, Rajiv here from Economic Times Prime. My question was that there must be some disadvantage as well when you have bigger packs. So what are they?
So disadvantages in the sense, when we talk about larger format cells, the biggest disadvantage is managing heat, managing thermal stability of the cells. How can you extract the heat being generated during charging or discharging? And that's the reason you cannot do large format cells with NMC, for example, because the amount of heat generated during when the NMC cell is being charged and discharged is much higher. With the right choice of chemistries, yes, then you can go for larger format cells. And as I mentioned during the talk as well, we were not able to go for larger format cells earlier from an LFP perspective, for example, because of the unavailability of the tabless technology being there. So with the right choices, those disadvantages which are existing today with the cylindrical format, we are solving them piece by piece. So just to summarize for you, one is how do you manage heat generation in the cell when you are dealing with larger format cells. So one is that you make those kind of chemistry choices where the heat generation is less itself. The second is how do you manage current flow into a larger cell? Because if you have just a notch which is connecting all the current from the cell, then it will not lead to the right kind of power requirements from the cell itself. But if you have tablet structure, the entire electrode is flowing into the external circuit and you are able to control the proper power flow coming out of the cell. So these are the few challenges which were existing with larger format cylindrical cells as on date, but with our interventions, these challenges are being taken away.
Right. Do you have to pay some royalty or technology fees in your development process of what you're going to make? Because I think you can't do everything alone, right? That's the point.
So that's the reason we had partnerships, for example, with Metastable. We had collaboration happening with Umicore and those kind of companies, and there are many more. We could only have 2 on the stage today. But there are many companies which we are collaborating with on various aspects of the supply chain, manufacturing process, and the design as well. But having said that, the core technology of the chemistry, of the design choices is something which is completely developed, ground up here in this campus.
Ideally, what we make here, it's like we're becoming a cell OEM. A cell OEM in some sense has, just like any other OEM, auto, etc., there is a big ancillary supply complete arm which supports that OEM. A lot of IP we feel will get created with those suppliers as well. When we innovate for the final product that comes out, all suppliers themselves or all partners who will be backing us with their components which we utilize, there will be an IP that will lie with them as well, which will help the complete ecosystem to grow.
As long as the technology is being utilized within the ecosystem, there is no point of royalties. It is about what we pay for which material and how do we finally look at the overall dollar per kilowatt hour cost of the cell itself. But yes, the technology that we develop together with our partners in this ecosystem, they will be available at royalties for others to use and advanced technology in the world.
Okay, my final question. We didn't have mention of either graphene or capacitor in your presentation today. So,
when we started with charge-discharge based cell technology, we started with developing supercapacitors. These have even higher power and even higher life as energy cell systems, but they are very short on energy density. At the same time, the supercap technology development program helped us to perfect the aqueous processing technique that has been the cornerstone of our entire process improvement that we're talking about. At the same time, the supercap technology is being further developed. We are getting large format supercap cells being made, and we will soon announce pilots happening with the supercap technology, because supercap technology is also very important for various high power applications like metro rails, Indian railways. Then you talk about power regulation and power modulation at the grid level. So those kind of applications are equally important. The only piece is that they are longer gestation markets to crack, and we are working on that, and soon you will have announcements on that side as well.
Thank you.
So what we've done is we have organized some lunch. I know there are a lot of questions, and we'd love to have it here, but we've organized a space where we can sit down, go much deeper into the questions. Maybe one question Ashok sir wants to ask, that could be the last question, and then we can move into one-on-one Q&A sessions. We're available for the next 2 hours, and we're going to take small groups for facility tour.
And there is another announcement which is pending, so we'll do that after Ashok sir's question.
Yeah, it's not really a question, but it's a comment. I've always said that science in India and innovation in India, two things, if you do well, then India has a huge future in all technologies. And what you have shown is that the science is the basis for what you are doing, and innovation on top of that has actually led to an amazing technology, amazing presentation that we have said. So it's more of a comment, and congratulations to the team who has taken it forward to that extent.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Ashok sir.
It reminds me of the reason of starting Log9, because I was again, like Hemant, I was not doing my master's, but I was interning in Canada when the thought about Log9 came around. And at that time, I realized that academic research is just not meant for me. All due regards to you, sir, but that's something I realized, that academic research is not meant for me. And if innovation has to happen, and it has to happen by my hands, it needs to lead to products, and those products need to impact lives on the ground.
And just before we close, very quickly, there is a merchandise. Maybe Akshay can talk about our partnership.
Can we have the slide, please? So, as I said, it's about creating impact on the ground. The common Indian citizen should be able to touch and feel what we experience today here. And for that, the cells which will be produced in this facility, in the largest facility coming up here, as they start to roll out of our assembly lines, those cells will be available in certain collectible merchandise and products related to EV mobility and otherwise, wherein they will be powered, or I should say insta-charged by Log9 local-made cells. And there are few renders which are available. These are the kind of different merchandise products that we are launching a pre-order soon for, including power banks, including small scooters, segways, and this will be coming up in the next quarter. And then we'll start deliveries of these merchandise with Indian-made cells very soon by the third quarter of the year. I also have a very special friend of mine today here with me, which has developed piece by piece a scooter completely ground up, built in India, a small scooter, and we have put already our cells made in this facility into that scooter, and that will be the first product available for pre-ordering starting very soon. Can we have the Ingo team here, please? About the vision of Ingo and also how you have made this product completely ground up and completely indigenous.
Thanks, Akshay. So Ingo, as you can take from the name, stands for India Goes Electric. We started this company back in 2017, and it was then Indian Institute of Science had introduced Akshay to me, and I told him, I'm able to crack every component of this vehicle. I have today, what you will drive out here is the most sturdy, most reliable, any terrain bike here in India. But what was frightening, Ingo, was we didn't have one element that was still missing of Make in India. We cracked the motor, we cracked the controller, everything, but the cells was still, we had to rely on importing it. And today I'm so happy to be working here with Akshay. We have now been able to get even the cell, that the last missing piece of the puzzle is now with Ingo. And thank you to Akshay for that, to make a Log9 powered vehicle. And looking for you guys to take a ride on our vehicle. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nikhil. Thank you very
can leave it here. I think it's always good to see a product in which we've contributed. So super excited. And as we close, maybe Karthik, can you step us through the last word of
Yeah, so I think today is not just a proud day for all of us here at Log9, but it's a very proud day for the complete Indian EV ecosystem. Today, India is trying to position itself as one of the leaders in the global EV play. But I think most of us in this Indian ecosystem, whenever we go to a potential partner, a client, a customer, an end user who drives the vehicle, there's always this question that comes up. Okay, so like others, you would also be getting cells, importing it, right? And then you always have this discomfort of answering that question. And you're like, no, everything else is localized, etc., etc. So I think what happened today, marks a major milestone towards that path altogether on making sure that we have a very good answer to that question, and towards making India a global EV supplier with everything made in India. So with that, I think I'll call it a wrap completely, and thanks a lot everyone for gracing us with your presence. I think we'll continue working on whatever we've been working with our heads down, everything coming out as properly as it can, and hoping to bring India to a global map as an energy supplier with technologies made in India for the world. Thank you.
Time. I know it's lunchtime, all of us are hungry, so as you walk out and you take a left and just climb up, and some refreshments, some energy juices, some nice food. Thank you, gentlemen.